The frayed coat's truth. Get out. This place isn't for someone who looks like they crawled out of a dumpster. The teacher's screech echoed through the elite international school's meeting room, targeting a man in a faded jacket. Little did they know, 10 minutes later, that ragged man would decide the fate of the entire school and the careers of everyone mocking him. The roar of luxury engines filled the gates of Blue Star International, the city's most prestigious private academy. This was a place where tuition fees cost more than a middle-class home. Today was the end-of-term parent-teacher meeting, an event that, for many, felt more like a high-fashion runway or a display of political power than a discussion about education. Mr. Tan stepped off a motorcycle taxi at the corner, about 50 meters from the gate. He paid the young driver, thanked him, and adjusted his old khaki jacket. Its cuffs were frayed, his trousers were faded, and his leather shoes were worn at the heels. Looking up at the shimmering gold sign of the school, he sighed softly. His daughter, Lynn, was a top student here on a full scholarship. She always told him, "Dad, just wear something normal. I don't want people staring." He understood. She wanted to save him money and shield him from the hollow blitz of this world. But perhaps Mr. Tan's normal was a bit too normal for Blue Star. As he walked past security, he felt the icy glares. Men in polished suits and women clutching bags worth thousands of dollars looked at him like a stray animal in a royal garden. "Hey, old man, you lost?" The maintenance entrance is in the back. A stout man with a thick gold chain sneered as Tan entered the main lobby. Tan paused and calmly replied, "I'm here for the 1201 parent meeting." The man burst into a loud laugh, turning to his wife, who was touching up her makeup. "Hear that? This school takes anyone now? Must be the poverty relief quota." His wife curled her lip. "That's why the quality is dropping, honey. Being near people like this is suffocating." Tan didn't respond. He was used to people who priced souls based on fabric. He silently walked to the third floor. Inside room 12A1, the air was thick with expensive perfume and elitism. Ms. Mai, the homeroom teacher, stood at the podium, beaming at parents with potential. She was sharp-featured, but her eyes constantly flickered toward the brands on display. When Tan entered, Ms. Mai froze. Her professional smile vanished. She scanned him from head to toe. "Can I help you? This is 12A1, an honors class." "I am my Lynn's father," Tan said softly. The room went silent, followed by whispers. Ms. Mai frowned, flipping through her register. "My Lynn? Oh, the scholarship student. Sit over there on that plastic chair by the corner. The leather seats are reserved for the Parent Association Board." The corner was a folding chair placed right next to the trash bin. Tan nodded without complaint and took his seat. The meeting began. But instead of grades, Ms. Mai spent the time praising the donations of wealthy parents. "We must thank Mr. Tang, Min Koyi's father, for the new projectors. And Ms. Lan, Tuan An's mother, for the $5,000 field trip fund." Then, her tone shifted. "However, some parents aren't contributing. This is an elite school. You can't just take a scholarship and give nothing back. I suggest those who haven't paid the extra $1,000 social fund reconsider if this environment is right for their child." All eyes turned to Tan. He sat still, hands folded. Ms. Lan, the donor, spoke up with a smirk. "Ms. Mai is right. Some people here probably don't make $1,000 in a year. Forcing a child into this school is just cruel. It ruins the class image." Mr. Tang added, "Hey, old man in the ragged coat, if you're that broke, say the word. I'll hire your girl as a maid. The pay would cover your bills. Sitting here is just taking up space." The room erupted in laughter. Ms. Mai didn't stop them, she gave a subtle, approving smile. Tan stood up. His calmness silenced the room. "Ms. Mai, I thought this was a meeting about our children's future, not an auction for social status." Ms. Mai slammed her hand on the desk. "Who are you to lecture me? Look at yourself. What have you given this school besides a daughter who does nothing but study? If it weren't for that scholarship, I'd have asked the principal to expel her long ago to make room for families who actually belong here. Tan narrowed his eyes. Expelled, for not having money? Exactly. Society has tiers. You don't belong in this one. Get out. She pointed to the door. Tan wasn't angry. He pulled an old-looking phone from his pocket, though an expert would recognize it as a high-security custom device. He dialed a number and put it on speaker. Hello. Come to 12A1. Bring last quarter's audit reports. The room was confused. Ms. Lon mocked him. Nice acting. Hiring a fake CEO to call? Poor people are so obsessed with face. 2 minutes later, the door burst open. A middle-aged man in a tailored suit, looking pale and panicked, rushed in. It was Principal Nam, the man every parent there feared and respected. Behind him were 2 secretaries with thick files. Ms. Mai jumped up. Principal Nam. Why are you here? I'm just dealing with a disruptive parent, please don't worry. But Nam ignored her. He ran to the back of the room, stopped in front of the man in the faded jacket, and bowed deeply. Mr. Chairman. I am so sorry. I didn't know you were attending the meeting personally. Please forgive our poor reception. The room froze. Ms. Mai's breath hitched. Ms. Lon and Mr. Tang turned white as ghosts. Tan gave a cold half-smile. Nam, I asked you to keep my identity secret because I wanted my Lin to have a fair education. But it seems your fairness is only for the rich. To you, people like my daughter are just trash. Nam was dripping with sweat. Chairman, this must be a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Tan pointed at Ms. Mai. This teacher just threatened to expel my daughter because I wouldn't pay a social bribe. She said I have no right to be here. How do you explain a teacher in my education group having such a discriminatory mindset? Ms. Mai collapsed onto the floor, stammering, Chairman. I didn't know. Tan looked at her coldly. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to these parents, whose minds you poisoned with the idea that money buys dignity. And apologize to your teaching degree. He turned to the principal. Nam, as of tomorrow, Ms. Mai is fired and blacklisted from the group. As for you, your position will be reviewed after this audit. I suspect there's a lot of dark money in these parent funds she mentioned. Tan then looked at Mr. Tang and Ms. Lon. They couldn't even meet his gaze. Mr. Tang, you wanted my daughter to be your maid? Tan asked quietly. The stout man trembled. No, please. I was joking. I'm a fool. Your logistics company is applying for a loan from our partner bank, right? I'll be sure to mention this interaction to the board. Tan turned to leave. Money doesn't buy character, but it certainly reveals it. As he walked out, the room remained dead silent. Ms. Mai stared at the floor, her life ruined in 10 minutes by the very arrogance she thought would save her. Outside, Mai Lin was waiting. She saw her father and ran to hug him. Dad, how was the meeting? Did they say anything about your clothes? Tan stroked her hair and smiled. No, sweetheart. They were actually very impressed by my jacket. Hand in hand, they walked toward the gate. A black Rolls-Royce waited, but Tan signaled the driver to stay back. He wanted to walk with his daughter to the bus stop, just like any other day. Because he knew that a person's worth is found in the steps they take, not the shadow of the car they sit in. The silence in the room following Mr. Tan's departure was deafening. Ms. Mai remained on the floor, her eyes hollow, staring at the scuff marks on the tiles. The wealthy parents, who had just moments ago been laughing at Mr. Tan's poverty, were now frantically gathering their designer belongings. They avoided each other's eyes, scurrying out of the room as if being seen there would permanently stain their reputations. Ms. Lon, who had bragged about her 100 million dong handbag, now awkwardly hid it behind her back. Mr. Tang, the man who felt invincible with his bank balance, felt a cold sweat trickling down his spine. They knew Mr. Tan's words weren't empty threats. As the chairman of a multi-industry conglomerate, he could dismantle their shallow worlds with a single phone call. The next morning, the atmosphere at Blue Star International had shifted entirely. A notice was posted on the main board: Ms. Mai was suspended indefinitely pending an investigation into financial irregularities and ethical misconduct. Principal Nam was summoned to the corporate headquarters to explain the social funds that had been extorted from parents. But the story didn't end with a few firings. Mr. Tan didn't want to just punish individuals, he wanted to uproot the money is everything mindset that was rotting the school. He organized a mandatory meeting for all staff and faculty. This time, he didn't wear the frayed jacket, but he didn't wear a tuxedo either. He chose a simple, crisp white shirt, dignified and commanding. "I stand here today not as a chairman giving orders," Mr. Tan began, his voice low but resonant. "I stand here as a father. A father who watched his daughter be looked down upon because her dad didn't flaunt his wealth. And I wonder how many other children are suffering because their families don't look the part." The hall was pin-drop silent. Many teachers lowered their heads. Some of them had undoubtedly favored the children of donors in exchange for small favors or status. Education is meant to liberate the human spirit, not to categorize society into tiers, Mr. Tan continued. If a teacher judges a student by their parents' handbag, that person is not fit to stand at a podium. From today, an independent monitoring system will be established. Any act of discrimination or bullying by staff will result in immediate termination. Meanwhile, in a cramped apartment across town, Ms. Mai was facing a harsh reality. Being blacklisted meant no other school would touch her. The wealthy friends she once flattered had blocked her number. They were afraid of being associated with her downfall. Mr. Tang and Ms. Lan fared no better. Mr. Tang's logistics company went into a tailspin after an audit revealed the very financial discrepancies Mr. Tan had suspected. Their arrogance had cost them the only things they valued: money and a false sense of superiority. Mai Lin was initially worried when her father's identity was revealed. She feared her peers would swarm her just because of her status. But Mr. Tan taught her a vital lesson: you don't need to hide the truth, but you must never let the truth change who you are. Just be Mai Lin, the hard-working, calm, and kind girl you've always been. Following her father's advice, Mai Lin stayed humble. She continued to help her classmates and work harder than anyone else. Her sincerity kept her true friends close, while the opportunists eventually felt too ashamed to linger near her. One afternoon, while walking through the campus, Mr. Tan ran into Ms. Ha, a new literature teacher he had met at a roadside tea stall days earlier. "Hello, Mr. Chairman," Ms. Ha stammered. Mr. Tan smiled warmly. "Just call me Mr. Tan, like before. How do you find the school now?" Ms. Ha beamed. "It's changing, sir. The students seem lighter, more relaxed. And we teachers feel respected for our skills, not our connections." Mr. Tan nodded, looking out at the students playing on the grass. No tears, no classes, just children. "Karma isn't mystical, Ms. Ha," he said softly. "It's simply the harvest of what we plant every day. Sow contempt, and you reap loneliness. Sow kindness, and you reap peace." The story of the frayed coat chairman became a legend in the city's education circles. People talked about how he faked being poor to test hearts, but the truth was, he never faked anything. He simply lived his simple life, and that simplicity acted as a mirror, reflecting the ugly truths of those blinded by vanity. Years passed, and Mai Lin graduated with honors, winning a scholarship to a world-renowned university. On the day she left, Mr. Tan wore that same old jacket to see her off at the airport. "Dad, you really won't let go of that jacket," Mai Lin teased. Mr. Tan laughed. "It's a reminder, Lin. It reminds me that no matter how high we climb, we must never forget where we started, and we must never let the glitter of the world blind us to the value of a human soul." They hugged, and Mai Lin walked toward her gate with the confidence and compassion she had inherited from her father. Mr. Tan returned to his car, but this time, he rolled down the window to watch the city pass by, a city full of people, each with a story, each sowing seeds of karma, waiting for the day they would bloom. Life continued, and the lessons of humility and kindness were written into the hearts of many. Because the true value of a person isn't in what they possess, but in how they treat those who can do absolutely nothing for them. The story of the man in the frayed coat was over, but its echo remained a gentle but firm reminder of justice and truth in a world that often forgets both. That evening, as the city lights flickered to life, Mr. Tan sat in his modest study at home. He wasn't in a mansion filled with gold, he lived in a quiet house surrounded by books and memories. He pulled an old photo album from a wooden shelf. Few knew that before he was the powerful chairman of Blue Star, Tan had been a dockworker, a man who hauled heavy crates until his back screamed in pain. That frayed khaki jacket was the first gift his late wife, a primary school teacher, had saved up to buy him during a harsh winter years ago. "We were so poor back then, weren't we?" Tan whispered to his wife's photograph. "But we never let anyone spit on our poverty, because we worked with our sweat and blood." Memories flooded back. He remembered a night when Mylin was only 5 years old, burning with a high fever. Tan had worn this very jacket, carrying his daughter on his back as he ran kilometers through the pouring rain to reach a hospital. When he arrived at the lobby, a security guard had blocked him, snarling, "Look at this trash. You're here to steal from patients, aren't you? Get to the back gate and wait in line." At that moment, an elderly doctor had stepped forward, pushing the guard's hand aside. "In this hospital, there are only patients and families. There are no rich and no poor. Bring her in, now." That doctor saved Mylin's life and taught Tan his first lesson in unconditional kindness. That was why, even as a billionaire, Tan chose to appear humble. He wasn't testing people out of spite, he was searching for elderly doctors in the real world, people who kept their conscience amidst the temptation of money. The next morning, at the corporate headquarters, an extraordinary board meeting took place. Tan sat at the head of the table, his old jacket hanging neatly on the back of his high-end leather chair. "I didn't call you here to discuss next quarter's profits," Tan began, his sharp eyes sweeping over the rows of expensive suits. "I want to talk about the culture of contempt. Why is it that our staff, from security guards to teachers, tend to judge based on appearances? Why was a poor parent chased out of our school like garbage?" A shareholder spoke up timidly, "Sir, that's just the general mindset of society. We provide luxury education, our clients expect a certain image." "Wrong." Tan slammed his hand on the table. "We sell knowledge and character, not memberships to an elite club. From now on, any branch under this conglomerate found discriminating against a client based on their appearance will see their regional manager fired immediately. We will hire based on empathy quotient (EQ) alongside intelligence (IQ). Meanwhile, in a small corner of the city, Ms. Mai, the former teacher, began a new life. She no longer wore designer skirts or heavy makeup. Clad in a simple white shirt, she sat in a charity home for orphan children, patiently teaching letters to a boy with a physical disability. One afternoon, Tan watched from a distance. He saw Ms. Mai kneel to wipe a spilled milk stain off the floor for the boy, and her smile looked genuinely relieved. He smiled back, signaling his secretary to send a large anonymous donation to the shelter, with the condition that Ms. Mai's salary be raised so she could sustain herself. Karma isn't just about punishment, it's about opening a path for those who wish to turn back. As for Mr. Tang, after a month of working in the warehouse, the once obese tycoon had lost nearly 10 kilograms. His hands, which once only knew how to sign checks, were now covered in calluses from moving crates. One day, during a break, he saw his son, Min Koi, waiting at the warehouse gate. The boy saw his father's hard work and suddenly ran to hug him, sobbing, "Dad, I'm sorry. I won't be a bully anymore. I'll get a part-time job to help you." Tang held his son, tears streaming down his sun-darkened face. He realized that the bankruptcy of his company was actually the salvation of his family. He had regained the son that money had previously corrupted. Years later, on the day Mylin graduated from university abroad and returned home, she didn't ask for a luxury car or a penthouse. She told her father, "Dad, I want to open a chain of schools for children in the Highlands, places where frayed coats are respected as much as the finest uniforms." Tan looked at his daughter, now a beautiful and wise young woman. He took the old khaki jacket and handed it to her. "I have nothing more precious than this to give you. It has traveled with me from the mud to the peak. Keep it to always remember, the true peak of a human being is when they are humble enough to help those beneath their feet." Mylin took the jacket and put it on. It was a bit large for her, but it radiated the warmth of integrity and love. The story concludes on an autumn afternoon as the two of them walk toward a new school named Karma Academy. Children rush out to greet them. None of them know he is a chairman, they simply call him Grandpa Tan. Tan sits on the grass, watching the children play, his heart finally at peace. He knows that even if this jacket turns to dust over time, its spirit, the spirit of respect and justice, will live on in the breath of this school, in the heart of his daughter, and in every person who ever crossed his path. The sun sets slowly, casting long shadows on the silver-threaded jacket. Life is like a dream, wealth or poverty will pass, but human kindness and karma remain, as resilient and brilliant as diamonds.